Welcome to this explainer by Forge College. Today, we are finally crossing the finish line of our module on cost model synthesis. We are taking all that raw data, the intricate models, and the testing you've already done, and we're assembling your EVM versus SVM capstone report. Think of this as the ultimate blueprint. It's the final deliverable that proves your absolute mastery of gas versus compute units, all without, putting your audience to sleep. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We've got 6 steps. Gathering artifacts, structuring the report, prioritizing recommendations, building your deck, passing the reproducibility checkpoint, and lastly, setting security baselines. Let's just jump right in. Section 1. Gathering your capstone artifacts. Let's take a quick inventory of your tools. If you remember our previous lesson on identifying and testing optimization opportunities, you'll recall they generated some really valuable outputs. Well, we're grabbing those exact 3 artifacts right now. So pull up your clean telemetry CSVs, your normalization script, and your experiment logs, complete with those before and after snapshots. I love this mindset right here. We aren't recreating data, we're just assembling a deliverable. It perfectly illustrates our whole approach for this explainer. We are literally just snapping pre-validated components together. You've already done the heavy lifting, right? Now you get to play master architect. You're taking those incredibly expensive modular Legos you built and snapping them into a cohesive structure. Moving on to section 2, structuring the report for maximum impact and rock-solid proof. So you're dealing with 2 totally opposite mindsets here. First, you've got the impatient executive. You know the type, right? They just want a 1-page summary, massive headline numbers, basically just tell them how much money they saved so they can go grab lunch. But then, on the flip side, you have the skeptical engineer, and they are going to actively ignore your polished summary and ruthlessly hunt for math errors in your raw scripts. Your report literally has to speak both languages fluently. To keep both of those readers anchored, your core narrative has to heavily rely on the concept of normalized cost. This is your single, standardized currency per operation baseline. By converting native EVM gas and SVM compute units into a single metric, you're providing a true apples-to-apples comparison. It's essentially the Rosetta Stone that makes your entire report readable to anyone who picks it up. And by following this exact report flow, you ensure a totally logical journey. You start with the high-level business impact right there in the exec summary. Then you flow smoothly through your methodology, show your results side by side, detail out your experiments, and finally end up down in the weeds with the granular, reproducible code in the appendices. It is a perfect funnel from the boardroom straight down to mathematical proof. All right, section 3, prioritizing those recommendations into actual, actionable steps. You can't just throw raw data at stakeholders and expect them to know what to do. You have to synthesize your experiment deltas into a prioritized scoring rubric, kind of like this one. Notice how we're balancing the expected savings against the implementation effort, measured in person days, to figure out the real priority. Sure, reducing redundant storage rights might save you 12 grand, but it takes 8 days of effort. You've got to rank these candidates so the engineering team knows exactly where to begin. And here's the kicker. Any high-priority recommendation absolutely must be backed by a concrete effort estimate and data-backed sensitivity ranges. You can't just throw out a promise of $12,000 in savings. No, you need an optimistic, a median, and a pessimistic window. Doing that shows you've actually mapped out the risks. Section 4. Building the deck, which is basically the user interface for your findings. 12. That is it. That's the absolute maximum number of slides you get to summarize your methods and findings for a 10-minute presentation. Seriously, if you're rocking up with 50 slides, you aren't summarizing anymore. You're just holding your audience hostage while reading a textbook out loud. Keep it tight. Keeping the deck concise naturally prevents overwhelming everyone in the room. But more importantly, it helps you avoid the universally dreaded stakeholder question, wait, where did this number even come from? Every single headline number on your presentation has to point directly back to a traceable model run. No exceptions. Section 5. The reproducibility checkpoint and quality assurance. Think of this step like thoroughly testing the machine right before shipping it to the client. You absolutely must rerun the normalization script, validate the before and after cost deltas, trace your summary figures straight back to your CSVs, and deliberately spot check every single assumption. So what does success actually look like here? Well, if your sample runs match the normalized tables in your report within a 2% tolerance, ship it. You're good. But if they don't, then you have a failure. Actually, scratch that. In engineering, a documented failure is just data.
If you have mismatched numbers beyond that tolerance, you just document the discrepancy transparently. Flag it as a known issue in your method section, explain exactly why it happened, and give your timeline to fix it. Easy.
Once you clear that checkpoint, your final submission package should be completely modular. You'll have the pristine report PDF, the presentation deck, complete with speaker notes, an appendix folder stuffed to the brim with raw CSVs, and a README explaining how to navigate the whole shebang. The executives get their clean PDF, while the engineers get the raw, unredacted data they crave to run their own audits. Everyone wins.
Almost done. Section 6. Preparing for security baselines.
Right now, before you do anything else, I need you to save a reproducible snapshot of your working directory. That means your report, your appendices, your scripts. Then, tag it with a version number. Do not skip this. We are going to need these exact baseline costs very, very soon. Why? Because in our next lesson, we are diving deep into EVM and SVM security baselines. We're going to explore how strict design choices, things like altering your validation order or throwing in heavy access controls, can completely blow up those beautiful cost profiles you just spent weeks optimizing. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. You found an incredible $12,000 optimization today, but how resilient are those cost savings when the ultimate stress test of security is applied tomorrow? Will your optimizations survive, or will security constraints just completely eat up your margins? We'll find out next time. Until then, keep building, keep optimizing, and absolutely stay curious. Thank you so much for joining this explainer by Forge College. Make sure you visit forge.college to learn more about this subject, dive deeper into our EVM to SVM transition track, and explore a ton of other fascinating Web3 topics. See you in the next explainer.